Good evening, everyone. Good afternoon or good morning, wherever you may be. Monaco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. So it's Sunday, March 28th, 2021. Yeah, I am a little early. I will wait for other people to come on, everyone to come on. I'll wait about 5 minutes. The title of the live stream is Federal Reserve Accelerates QE as Inflation Expectations Increase. So we're going to look at that today. So right now, though, yeah, just going to ask you if you can hear me well. And yeah, if you can see as well, Billy's here. Jump Tube, I have been watching the World Golf Championship match play. I watched the semifinals and then I stopped. I might watch a little bit later on today after the live stream. It's an interesting format. Hi, Shane Sturgis. I'm well, thank you. I hope you're well as well. I'm playing golf tomorrow for the first time in a few months. They're opening up again here, the golf courses. So it's supposed to be quite nice tomorrow, sunny, up to 18 degrees Celsius, which is, I think, around in the mid 60s in terms of Fahrenheit. Quite a few people here already. Hi, Elias Jones, Savoy Truffle, Tony from Campbell River. Let's see who else is here. Silver Squeeze, Silver Raid, Max Intel. Hi, Max. Paul Coomber from Australia. Everywhere around the world, which is a great thing. Southern Manitoba, Paul Veens or Weens. I try to put Billy facing the camera, but then he got up and started digging the blanket there, and then he always turns his back to us, so I couldn't help it. Michigan here too. Jim Diggs, DMC, do you suspect the Suez Canal stunt was deliberate? No, I don't think so, DMC. I don't think it was deliberate. I think it's a little bit too much to think that. I think it was probably some kind of failure from the tugboat. They probably got a bit of a wind or something, a gust of wind. That's what I heard. And it's a very big ship, that container ship. I think it's over 220,000 metric tons. I think it's a little bit too much to think it was deliberate to block the Suez Canal. I don't believe in that. So who else have we got? Grow Mechanic is here. Hi, Grow Mechanic. I did see you earlier. We got Usman Zafar from Pakistan. We got the Patriot Kuya from New York. Paul Nolan from Dublin, Ireland. There is a Dublin, Ohio. That's why I said I'm sure you're from Dublin, Ireland. Ben Gray. Hi, Ben. Noah added a little bit to his stack, silver and gold. Yeah, I think there's something definitely going on in the gold and silver market. I think the prices will explode. I don't know when, but at least before the end of the year. I'm going to talk a little bit about some news I've seen about silver. Who else we got? Dennis K. Hi, Dennis. Steve Bruce. Danny. Whole Bitcoin that says love Mario and the Market Sniper. I like that guy too, Market Sniper. I listen to him once in a while. HH from Denmark. Nice to see you here. Dublin, Maine as well, apparently, according to Rob. Yeah, in the US, there's some interesting place names. I think there's a Brazil, Indiana, Rome, Georgia. Quite a few interesting names. Third world trillionaire. Perth Mint making fractional reserve minting great again. Yeah, we're going to cover the Perth Mint again today. Aside from the inflation story, I have another one of my viewers and followers on Facebook. He sent me another copy, a picture of an old dictionary with the definition of inflation. I have, of course, the Webster Dictionary and the Oxford from 1925, and we're going to look at another one today. Fibonacci, Hell, Michigan. Collectors from Essex here in the UK. Rand Gavrili, keep up the good work. Thank you. Richie from Boston, Jim Diggs. I haven't seen him around. I guess he's on BitChute now. The problem is, it does make a difference when people leave, not leave, but are deleted from YouTube. I'm going to have a look at Richie from Boston. I like Richie from Boston. Francis Hunt, what do you think of him? Is that the market sniper? I think it is, isn't it? What do I think of Bo Pony? Well, Bo Pony he's an interesting guy. That's all I will say. He thinks April will be a very interesting month, but we'll have to see. So, okay, we can start now. So, yeah, let's look at the the title here, Federal Reserve accelerates QE. So you might be thinking, what are you talking about, accelerate QE? Well, I'll show you here. I'll share it with you guys. So let's see. So this is from Tavi Costa, as you can see here. I'm actually going to have him on. I'm going to interview him on Wednesday, probably publish the interview the day after, which will be 1st of April. This is not an April Fool's. I will interview him. And I interviewed him last year. He's a really interesting analyst. He happens to be as well from Brazil, like I am from Brazil. And he does some really interesting analysis here. He's got this chart, Fed purchases of treasuries and MBS, which is mortgage-backed securities. It says amount above or below 120 billion QE program. So you can see here in the last 6 weeks, the Fed has been buying a lot more than they had ever bought in the 6-week period since July last year. So it's picked up. Of course, from I think Thursday, the SLR exemption for the big banks is going to go away. And we'll have to see if the Fed will be able to keep doing as much QE as it's been doing. Maybe they've been doing this in order to cushion the fact that they're not going to extend the SLR. For some of you who don't know, the SLR is the statutory leverage ratio. So the thing with QE is that it adds also not only to the Fed's balance sheet, but it adds to the commercial banks that are primary dealers for the Federal Reserve. It adds to their balance sheet, and it makes them more risky. So they're going to have to stop doing that. So there you go. So I think the Fed are concerned about the 10-year yield. I know the 10-year yield has stabilized. It went to, if you remember well, I was warning about 130 in the 10-year. If we broke through there, that there could be trouble. And there was really, because the bond market, after we broke 130, went almost in a straight line to 175 a couple weeks ago. It came back down last week, but it didn't close very well on Friday. The 10-year yield rose from just below 160 to around 166. And when yields rise, bond prices drop, and that's quite negative for financial assets. Also, rising yields make well, they what they do is they accelerate the increase in the national debt, because uh, the U.S. Treasury, they're issuing debt now to pay off old debts, and if they have to issue new debts with a higher coupon or interest rate, they're going to be paying more. So it's like a snowball, and that's a problem for them. So, and I think the Federal Reserve, Jay Powell, they're concerned about inflation expectations, and we're going to look at that in a minute. I've got an article from the FT talking about that. And there's a lot about inflation coming out now. So I'll just have a look at some of your comments. Yeah, feel free to ask questions as well. It is our Q&A Sunday. Ask the Fed to print another tugboat. Yeah, that's the thing. This is the real world. Real ships, tugboats. Yeah, I read something yesterday that apparently they're more optimistic now, because the tide was gonna have a high tide, and they might be able to move the ship. I haven't seen it. Jeff Christian did an interview on Kitco recently. His predictions have been accurate, as I believe he's part of this control system to suppress. Oh, he definitely is. That guy, he used to work for Robert Rubin at Goldman Sachs in the 80s. He was part of the precious metals research department at a precious metals arm of Goldman Sachs called J. Aaron. He only works for the bullion banks, international institutions like the BIS, IMF. He's not really looking after the interest of the general public as it pertains to precious metals. Yeah, so I haven't looked at that latest interview. Bowman says he's sorry, he's late. Well, you can always watch the recorded beginning if you want later on. So this is what I saw today as well. I'm going to show you here. This is more to do with silver. Let's have a little look at silver here. This is from someone on Instagram. He's come out, and so this is not just the Perth Mint now. It looks like the Mexican Mint is going to halt production of the Mexican 1-ounce Libertad coins. So that's happening there as well in Mexico. Why do I think not only the Perth Mint and now the Mexican Mint? Why are they doing that? Well, because I think there's a lot of demands for physical silver from us, from the deplorables, and Comex is in trouble. I think there's a lot of people demanding delivery of physical silver, which is something that they usually don't do. Prior to 2020, the Comex was just supposed to be a paper trading, and now there's too many people asking for delivery. And I've got another interesting thing here from the same guy. If you want to follow him, he's quite good on Instagram. He's called a Bullionaire, as you can see here, and he took this from SRS Rocco, and look at that. US Mint Gold Eagle sales for full year 2018, 2019. And now January to March 18th, 2021, they've sold more in less than 3 months this year than they did all of 2018 and 2019. And don't forget, 2019 is a good year for gold. Gold is up. I think we broke through that 1375 level. So more example here of the physical demand. That's why I think we're very close to where the only way for the market to loosen the demand, to make it not loosen the demand, but loosen the shortage to bring some metal into the market is going to be higher prices to attract the metal. And I think even then they're going to have a difficult time with people like us who are stacking for the long haul, for the stackers, the entrenched gold and silver bugs. So now I want to look at this story here about inflation, and I think the central bankers are concerned, even though we hear a lot of them saying that, this is going to be temporary, but I think they're fooling themselves. So let's look at this story here. Inflation bogeyman unsettles markets. Our investor fears over the impact of stimulus packages and vast bond buying on rising prices justified. So I had to read through this article already, but one thing that is really interesting here, this guy, what's his name, Robin Wigglesworth, at least he admits here on the face of it, the only surprising thing seems to be how slowly concerns have been building, and that's concerns about inflation. To fight the economic fallout from the coronavirus pandemic, the 48 biggest central banks have slashed interest rates and bought $9 trillion worth of financial securities, according to JP Morgan. And this is the kicker here. Throw in various government stimulus packages, which I would say they're not ending. They're going to continue. And I even heard the IMF is creating SDRs out of thin air, $650 billion worth. That's more funny money. So with those, the total is like 20 trillion. I think the world economy, I'm not sure, I think is about 70 trillion, 65 trillion. So they've created a third of the world economy out of thin air. Not to expect inflation is, and by inflation, I mean rising prices, because we all know, a lot of us know, at least from what I've been talking for years, that what inflation is. And I'm going to come to this new dictionary definition I told you about earlier in the live stream. So as you can see here, this is the taperless treasury tantrum. So this is how badly the sell-off in bonds has been this year, and they're not even talking about tapering. So, but I wanted to come to the end here just to show you why bonds could continue to do well despite all the inflation, all the money printing, all the fiscal stimulus. And it's basically because of, this here. Let's see, where is the, I'll just show you here. Bill Gross, the erstwhile bond king, has also chimed in. Last week, he revealed a bet against U.S. Treasuries on the view that the recent stimulus package will kick the U.S. inflation rate to 3 or 4%. It says here, though, however, the inflation narrative has gone way beyond what the markets are actually pricing in, which in turn has arguably gone way beyond what is likely to happen. So, yeah, this guy here, I think Kit Jukes, he used to be part of the Bank of England. So he thinks there's no rising prices problem. He says inflation is about as common as dragons, even though, looking at the true definition of inflation, We've had massive inflation for the last 50 years. And you see, this is the one that annoys me here. Let's see. Yeah, if it moves much higher, i.e. their phony measures of prices, of course, which they call inflation, there will probably be a wave of money coming in from yield-starved foreign investors. So they think that higher yields in the US will attract investors. I'm not too sure. Until wage growth, the real leading indicator of broad-based inflation, starts picking up in a big way, this is a bogeyman investors do not need to fear so much quite yet. So let me come back here to get out of that story. So again, the mainstream media, mainstream economists, they always blame wages. When wages start picking up, they say that it is inflation, an indicator of inflation. But they don't look, of course, at the money supply. We've seen that M1 is gone up over 300% in the last 12 months. We've seen that M2 has gone up over 25%. So yeah, one of the viewers sent me this. Let me share this with you. And it's from the Thorndike Barnhart Dictionary, and it's from the 1960s. So here we go. Let's have a look. Inflation, increase of the currency of a country by issuing much paper money, a sharp and sudden rise of prices resulting from too great expansion in paper money or bank credit. And so there you go. And of course, I've got the other ones that I've showed you before. I won't go through them again, the Webster and the Oxford dictionary definitions. So I'll go through some of your questions now. CPI only 1.9%. The thing is, the CPI has been doctored a lot and changed a lot since 1980. If you use the 1980 methodology, it's more like 8 to 10%, the CPI. They excluded a lot of things. They used things like substitution, hedonics. What's hedonics? Well, for example, a car that cost, let's say, $20,000 in 1990 and now costs $50,000. They will say that because of all the improvements in the car, that the car still hasn't gone up in price because the improvements justify the higher price. But have wages gone up as much as that? No, they haven't. So it's like it's not a really good way to measure affordability and the cost of living. Billy is a stacker. Yeah, he's a silver bug. You can even get a mugs in the Teespring store, Billy Silverbug mugs. Lily Robin, what about Perth Mint not delivering on allocated storage? Yeah, I've got here John Adams. I've got his Twitter page here, and we'll go through it. There's a lot going on at the Perth Mint, like I spoke about last week. I will cover it again this week because I think it's important. What do I think is happening there? Well, I think the Perth Mint is helping out the Comex. So they're making it really tough for the small guys in Australia, for investors to get a hold of silver. So Arcadia also, they went onto their website, and silver kangaroos are out of stock on the Perth Mint website. What else? This was the important one, I think, that he put out. I think it was yesterday. Perth Mint has changed its commitment to the market about delivering physical silver. The Perth Mint website now says that timing to deliver from synthetic to physical depends on production constraints. And he says, John Adams, this was not the case earlier this week. So if you remember, in the beginning of February, SLV, the silver ETF, they changed their perspectives as well. So this is like another, how can I say, kind of technical default by the Perth Mint. And we've seen a lot of people like Alias Jones, thank you for your super chat. Could you warn me not to go into debt again? Yeah, don't go into debt. Don't go into debt. Live within your means. So to come back to the Perth Mint SLV, oh yeah, I was going to talk about Jeff Curry, the guy from Goldman Sachs, commodity head of commodities, and some other people. They've come out and say, you know, there's loads of silver out there. The silver market is really deep. So why, if the silver market is so deep and there's so much silver out there, why is the Perth Mint making it, why is it so hard to get silver from the Perth Mint? Why is the Mexican Mint now going to stop minting the silver libertads? And I think Andy Schechtman, also of Miles Franklin, he's been saying that the U.S. Mint is going to stop, close down for about 2 months, maybe starting in April. And he does admit that it's because they're changing the way they make the coins, but it seems a long time to do it. And he says 4 to 6 weeks, grow mechanic. So I just show you here where this story is coming from about the Mexican mint, so that I can have some credibility. I always like to show where I get the story. So this is coming from Gold Antitrust Action Committee, GATA, Bill Murphy. Mexican Central Bank reported to suspend production of silver libertads. So yeah, the Mexican Central Bank, they're part of the club. A former central bank head of Mexico Central Bank head, Agustin Carstens. He's now the managing director of the BIS, so this is not surprising. So this is what it says here. Dear friend of GATA and Gold, Hugo Salinas Price, president of the Mexican Civic Association for Silver, whose family operates Banco Azteca, reports that the Mexican Central Bank, the Banco de Mexico, has suspended production of the famous Mexican silver libertad coins. Banco Azteca long has purchased libertad coins from the central bank and sold them to the public, with monthly sales lately reaching 50,000. Now Salinas Price says the only libertads Banco Azteca can obtain are those its customers are willing to sell. So there you go. So much for all the silver out there, right? So it seems to be a big problem everywhere. Bob Hunter, thank you for your super chat. If you had one wish, Mara, what would it be? To be at Augusta in a couple of weeks' time to watch the Masters. That's what it would be. And also for silver to be at $200 that week. So that's 2 in 1. Joker Alpha, would you guess the U.S. Mint could shut down its production? Yes, Joker Alpha, that's what I'm hearing from Andy Schechtman. He's been talking a lot about that. He's one of the, I think there's 27 registered dealers in the U.S. that deal with the U.S. Mint, and he's one of them. He knows people who are work closely with the Mint, and that's what he's hearing, that it could be shut down for a couple of months. There's the silverback, grow mechanic. Fernando Ribeiro says the mints are closing or going out of stock because the banksters are pointing a gun on their heads. Yeah, because the banksters are having a tough time covering their shorts on Comex. And a lot of people are starting, I know the Wall Street bets happened earlier this year, and then there was a lot of enthusiasm in the beginning of February for the silver squeeze. And I personally, at the time, I wasn't that enthusiastic, but because I thought it would take longer, and it is taking longer for the real price of silver to appear. But I think it's kind of it's been like the how can I say, forgot the word now, but it's really triggered. It's like it's really triggered the conscience of the public. Not, there's still a lot of people who don't look at silver, but I think it's increased a lot. The awareness about silver and the shortage of silver, and also the manipulation by the central banks, and it's increased a lot. The demand for physical, and Comex is feeling that. Even the month April silver, which is not like a very big month usually, there's a lot of people taking delivery, and I think yeah, yeah, this is something new for Comex because it's not supposed to be a physical market. Steve Bruce, yeah, Comex will not default. Well, technically they won't, but they will, because only because it's in there in the rules that they can pay you cash. So they will default on physical, but they will not default. It won't be called a default, but it's basically, Richard Nixon defaulted, the United States defaulted on August 15th, 1971, because you were supposed to be, if you were a foreign treasury, you were supposed to be able to convert your $35 for an ounce of gold, and he froze that. He closed the gold window. They call it close the gold window, but it's probably the biggest sovereign debt default ever. That was August 15th, 1971. But if you say that to someone, they'll say, "Oh, you're crazy. The United States has never defaulted." Alan Greenspan says that the U.S. can't default because they can just print and pay off the debt with more debt. But for all intents and purposes, yeah, the U.S. has been in default since, to international other sovereign countries since 71, and so have all the other countries. Tom, thank you for your super chat. Did you hear about IMF's new layer of SDR? Yeah, I did. I actually mentioned that some minutes ago. I think it's $650 billion dollars worth of SDR. They're looking to create out of thin air. And who's going to pay for that? Well, we're going to pay for that, because SDR is just a basket of dollars and other major fiat currencies. And I can see the U.S. Treasury approving that, because the U.S. Treasury basically has a de facto veto in the IMF, because I think you have to have 17% shareholding, and the U.S. is the only country that has 17%, more than 17% of the shares, or in the IMF. But I think this is right up Yellen's, Secretary of the Treasury, Yellen's Strasse, up her street. She loves a bit of inflation. And that's not to say that Mnuchin wouldn't have done the same thing, because yes, despite what's going on politically under Trump, things were just as, how can I say, profligate. We saw the national debt go up as well, quite a lot. Even before the pandemic, the budget deficit in the US was running at 5%. I know now we're running closer to 20%. But anyway, enough of the politics. Let's look at Mr. Ashford. Apparently, personal monetary demand has taken over industry for the first time around in a decade, according to David Morgan. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. And they don't like that. You see, the people who run the silver market, the bullion banks, they're there to help the big corporate interests, the silver users industry. They hate, the small people like us demanding too much silver. And I think I saw that interview, David Morgan. And I think it's going to make a big difference to the price of silver, because I think he said something to the effect that the demand for industrial silver is very price inelastic. The market's already, how can I say, kind of, it's quite steady. The demand doesn't rise very quickly. So it's the investment or monetary demand that will make the difference, I think. Elliot Kerr says, careful, Mario, a lot of Trump fans here. Well, actually, I'm just saying that the fiscal policy under Trump and monetary policy wasn't that different. I think even Trump, he was the one who wanted to give out another $2,000 and they stopped it, right? Mario, my pick for the Masters. I'm not a betting man. I have bet before on golf, and I was thinking of actually putting on a bet this year. And my pick would be Jordan Spieth. And why? Well, because he's got a really good track record there. He's won it. He's finished second a few times. And he's been in a slump, and he's coming back now, it seems. So Jordan Spieth, I think, is a good bet. BR William, we are in a reset right now. Yeah, I made a video about that yesterday. A pretty long video about what's going on, the Dow Gold ratio. I thought it was quite interesting. It's a long one, but you can stop after I talk about the Dow Gold ratio. And I actually referenced this book yesterday, and I want to reference it again, Gold Bug by James Dines. And he wrote this in 2009, but there's a section here from which I was reading yesterday during my video. And I had, and that's why I read this book years ago, right? And it's always good to go back to books. Because you find things that apply a little more to what's going on today. And here on page 58, this is what he says. And he says, since 2000, the Dines letter has shepherded subscribers out of high techs, and since September 2001 into metals such as gold, silver, uranium, rare earth elements, because they are the best stores of value in the climate of mass fear ahead. But this is what is really interesting, he said here, and this was in 2009. He says, we dare to predict now that people will take deliveries from commodities futures markets rather than merely trade them. So this was written in 2009, and I think it describes exactly what's going on in silver, a lot in silver and in gold. And that's why I think we're approaching mass fear. And gold and silver do well when there's fear in the markets, fear of inflation, fear of war, fear of monetary collapse, fear that the dollar is going to go down. So I thought that was really interesting. He actually said that it might, he said in 2009 that it would be amazing. People might find this a bit outlandish that people will actually be taking big deliveries from Comex of the real metal. And I know about that because I worked as a futures and options broker for 20 years. And even though the major asset class that I concentrated on, that I was a specialist in, were bonds, I did trade quite a bit of silver and gold in around 2004 to 2007, 8 for one of our big clients. And I tried to convince him to take delivery of silver. And my boss said, oh, you can forget about that. No one ever takes delivery. So that's the mentality of the futures brokers and all the other brokers towards gold and silver on Comex. And that's why now this has changed completely, because a lot of the family offices, the very wealthy families, they can't find gold and silver in the normal avenues like the mints or bullion dealers. So they're going to Comex, and that's a problem for them. Not joking. Have you read 13 Satanic Bloodlines Paving the Road to Hell? No, I haven't read that, but I have an idea who they are, I guess. I guess you read the Creature from Jekyll Island. I have books by Eustace Mullins as well. I have a book also about the Brotherhood of Darkness by Miss Monteith. Is it Stephen Monteith? He talks about that as well. Bob Hunter, thank you for your super chat. Joe Biden's brain is unallocated. Yeah, I think his brain is paper, right? There's no real brain in that head, unfortunately, for the United States. Nancy K, will Comex go down? Well, what we have to realize about Comex, it used to be it is part of the NYMEX exchange, but it's been bought out by the CME. So the CME is the biggest futures exchange in the world. They're not going to allow huge problems to go on Comex, because that would put all their other contracts, their reputation under threat. But what they can do, they can just, if you have a lot of money, let's say millions of dollars, and you go and buy, silver's contract and stand for delivery, they might say, oh, we can't deliver to you the physical, we can do cash settlement. That's what they'll do. But, and then it will become more and more irrelevant. That's the way I think the Comex is going to go. People are going to gravitate to buying and holding real physical silver and gold, not speculating on the price. That's what I think will happen. Lords of Finance, I've read that book. That's a very good book as well. Brain farts videos. Any chance that governments are actually financing their expenses by selling gold and silver to the general public? No, I don't think they're doing that. I don't think they're doing that. They're just borrowing on the back of you, our children and grandchildren. That's what they're doing. They're not selling the gold, I don't think. Mark Volker, I don't have a PO box. This is a postal address. So you mean a PO box? I don't, Mark. I don't have one. Oh, I wanted to talk about something I watched on Amazon Prime. If any of you guys have access to Amazon Prime, and I highly recommend. Where is it? Trying to find it here. It's called the Men Who Built America. I think there's one about the frontiersmen, like Daniel Boone, Andrew Jackson, and so on. And then there's one about the robber barons, the men who built America. And I think it's really interesting to watch that. Talks about Vanderbilt, Rockefellers, Carnegie, J.P. Morgan. I'm not glorifying those guys, but it's interesting to watch that. There's a scene there where J.P. Morgan is talking to his dad, Junius Morgan, and the J.P. Morgan Bank was actually created in London. because Junius Morgan went to London to work for someone called George Peabody. And George Peabody was an American banker in London. And when he died, he didn't have any family. So he left the firm, Peabody firm, to Junius Morgan. And that's what JP Morgan became. And he's having a chat with his son, JP Morgan. And he said, oh, Lord Rothschild always told me that the best time to buy was when there was blood on the streets. So I recommend that people watch that. Nicholas Martin, I think that was Adam Ferguson who wrote that, When Money Dies. It could be, I'm not sure. You can Google that. 1,000 viewers and 250 thumbs. Yeah, we need more thumbs up. Suez broke the banksters. Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens. It's interesting because it's happening. The the Suez can be the entrance to the Red Sea if you're coming from the Mediterranean, and there's a lot of people out there saying that things are getting biblical. There'll be a Red Sea moment. So it's very interesting. I think we need to keep an eye on what's happening in the Suez Canal. It's going to affect. It could affect also. Yeah, it's going to affect the supply chain where ships are going to have to go around the Horn of Africa, the Cape of Good Hope. You could see pirates as well get involved because all these ships are going to be, moored there, trying to get into the canal. It could create a lot of trouble. David Vach, Mary, could you give everyone a recommended reading list? I think I have one actually. Let's see. Let me bring it up. I think I've done a video before about that. Let's see, videos, book. Oh yeah, here we go. Here's a link of a video I did. I think it was last year about the books I recommend, but I will probably make another video. Maybe I'll do a live stream during the week to talk about some interesting books that I like, that you might like. Chess Master 2000 thinks Suez was a planned event. I'm not too sure about that. Not that I don't do conspiracy analysis. A lot of people have called me conspiracy theorist, but in this case, I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure, even though, it's something we've never heard about, a ship going, aground at the Suez Canal. Even though ships do go aground and sailboats go aground. My dad was a sailor, and he used to do a lot of long range sailing, like from Brazil to Argentina, and their sailboat ran aground once in the south of Brazil, and they were stuck there for a while. So these things happen. Gerolji, thank you for your super chat. CV alone is proof that this realm is not real. Every country followed the same script. Reality is self. Yeah, I agree, and unfortunately, if you guys want to know what I feel about this whole thing in this last 12 months, go to my blog. I wrote about it in June, Maneko64.net. I don't talk much about it here anymore because, there's no point because I don't want to be deleted. And I think I can be of more help to people by helping them navigate, the monetary system. I'm not trying to help people become rich or anything. I'm trying to help people protect what they have through trying to explain to them how the monetary system works. If they want to protect themselves with gold and silver, good for them. It doesn't really matter to me, but I'm just trying to open people's eyes, because our monetary system is fake, like a lot of other things. Tricky Dicky, thank you for your super chat. Do you think China is running the Western governments now? It seems like we govern against our own interest. To be honest, seems like the West is destroying itself. I don't think so. I don't think China's running the West, or vice versa, actually. I think the West and China work together. Uh, if you read about the Chinese revolution, how can you say, the communist, not the revolution, but the civil war in the late 50s, 49, the West was supporting the communists. Rockefeller, the bankers were supporting the communists. And they were also, and then Chiang Kai-shek and the nationalists fled to Taiwan, or Formosa as it was called at the time. Yes, and we've supported Taiwan since then. But if it wasn't for the West, communist China wouldn't have risen. So I think we're working together. I don't think the Chinese are in charge of the West, but they've got a lot of power. And why? Well, because they've become the factory of the world. They've become like America became in the late 1800s, early 1900s. They became, the manufacturer for the world, and China's done the same thing, and that's given them a lot of power. They've been able to accumulate a lot of wealth and bring a lot of people out of poverty, and a lot of the dollars and euros or pounds that they've accumulated, it's all paper. And would you keep it all in paper if you were China? No, you'd be buying assets everywhere around the world, because that all that fiat currency is fake. So I think it's not as clear cut as people say, that China is in charge, or that. I think it's more, they're playing the game with us. But I think they are becoming powerful, more powerful. I think it was Jim Rogers who said that the 21st century is going to be the Chinese century, and I think it will. But one thing's for sure, they're very good business people and capitalists, the Chinese, despite the fact that they're supposed to be communist. So there you go. Aztec gold. Yeah, I spoke about that in this live stream. I showed John Adams' tweets. Yeah, I covered that already. They've changed some of the rules. Rochelle Fernandez, I love it when you read books. Please keep it up. I bought the Germany's Gold book after I heard an excerpt. I looked up. You read a lot. Hardcover was $1,000 on Amazon. No, that's not true. Germany's Gold is like less than 30 pounds. No, I'm not too sure you got the right book there, but yeah, you don't have to pay $1,000 for it. I think on AmazonUK.co.uk you can get it for less than 30 pounds. Yeah, I've noticed that people do like when I look at the books. I've done that, for years. Oh, Billy's just got up. There you go. Just stretching. Black Silver Staff says your last video was dope. Thank you. Or there's another expression that young people use. Oh, they say, "Oh, that was sick," right? It's something that's good. Or that was Gucci as well. That's another one. Mr. Ashford, do you think the Western economies need complete restructuring with this monetary reset and bring more to the table of foreign countries. Well, I think the Western countries, our economies, we've been on the Keynesian diet for too long, and our we got too much debt, we got fake money, we've got big government, too much regulation, too much. Yeah, government needs to butt out. And that's unfortunately they're not going to do this willingly, our political leaders and nor the people. The people, a lot of people expect governments to be there, to help them. But I think once we have a collapse of the monetary system or non-monetary system, there won't be a choice. We have to go back to what made the West great. Oh yeah, and this documentary I recommended about the men who built America, about the Rockefellers, the Carnegies. And I'm not like saying I think they were great, they're very good businessmen. Their character is something else. But what was interesting about that is that the first bridge that was built across the Mississippi was built by Carnegie, a steel bridge. It wasn't built by the government. People forget that it's not government that creates wealth or infrastructure or businesses. And I think that's the problem with the West. And it was capitalism and free market. And granted, those guys did have abusive practices in their businesses. I admit, Carnegie, he had a guy that ran his steel mills, Mr. Frick, and he used the Pinkertons to shoot strikers. So, but what made America great and wealthy was not government, and what made Britain great as well was not government. It was allowing free markets to reign, and also, of course, government was small. I think during the heights of the British Empire, there's only 5,000 civil servants, and the British Empire ran I don't know, 2/3 of the world. The world map was mostly pink. But nowadays, how many people depend on government? Millions for their jobs. So yeah, we need to do that. Blue Diamond, thank you for your super chat. I have only 100 ounces of silver. How much do I need? Well, Blue Diamond, I don't really know your circumstances, financial, your financial balance sheet, so to speak, but just look at silver as savings. So just save as much as you can and as much as you think you might need for a rainy day. Not joking. Are you going to be lining up any chats with other people anytime soon, Lynette, etc.? Yeah, actually, I'm interviewing Lynette Zhang in May. Yes, it is far away, but I've set up the interview. 18th of May, I'll be interviewing Lynette Zhang. This coming Wednesday, March 31st, I'm interviewing Tavi Costa of Crescat Capital. I'll probably publish that interview the day after, because we're doing the interview at 9 p.m. London, because he's in Colorado, so it's 7 hours behind. So I'll probably publish it the next day. What else? I'll probably have Rafi Faber on again soon. He's a regular and people like him. And yes, that's about it for now, but I'll keep trying to get more people. I've always said though that my channel, I do like doing interviews and being interviewed, but I try to focus on, I'm kind of like a lone wolf, but no, it's good to get people on, and I will keep trying to get more people on, of course. Tricky Dicky, thank you again. Totally agree. Just look at the Tories. They have changed a lot since Thatcher's laissez-faire is dead and buried. Right government is too big. That's right. Yeah, unfortunately, I think it's going to be the hard way. We're going to have, you know, the general public are going to realize that there's nothing behind government. Billy? No, he's not. Mexico gives away silver. Nicholas Martin says my interviews are brilliant. So yeah, maybe I'll try to get some more. What's the deal with the Perth Mint? I'll show you here, Lord Humongous. John Adams has been talking about it. I think it was yesterday. They've changed some of their rules. Here we go. Where is it? Oh, here you go, Lord Humongous. This is what he tweeted yesterday, John Adams. I have been able to discover in the past few hours that Perth Mint is denying pool allocated customers with more than 1,000 ounces immediate delivery. They must switch to allocated if they are allowed. Some customers are denied switching, and this is also breaking. He thought this was important. They've changed their commitment to market about delivering physical silver, so that's what's going on. And I think Chris Marcus, he went on the Perth Mint website. He tried to buy silver kangaroos, and they were out of stock basically, so he couldn't get them. And the CEO of the Perth Mint, he was interviewed like a week ago, and he said they had plenty of kangaroos, but they don't anymore. Bob Hunter, thank you again. Billy, here, more silver for you to carry on your walks. There he is. Uh, thank you, Rick Golfman, for your super chat. $10. Lily Robbins says, great video with John Adams and David Morgan on Palisades Gold Radio. I saw the thumbnail for that. I haven't watched that yet. I will watch that. Do you think the Royal Mint could go the same way? What I've heard about the Royal Mint is that they're selling a lot of their silver abroad instead of selling it to the dealers in the UK. But they could certainly go the same way, I would say, not Joe King. Ewing Mac, yeah, I have tried to contact Alistair McLeod for an interview, but I haven't been successful in getting a reply. I'll keep trying. Did you ever live in the US? Yeah, I did. I mean, I was originally, I was born in Brazil, grew up in Brazil, but I went to school abroad. And then I went to university in the States and Switzerland. I lived in Florida for about 2.5 years. I went to university there. So yeah, and I've been in the UK since 1992, but I haven't really put on a British accent. I just saw a Harry Dent comment there predicting a crash in July 2022. Yeah. Wow. Lord Humongous says kangaroos on the private market are selling for $70 plus. Yeah, I have some. I have some kangaroos. I'm not going to sell them though. China signs a deal with Iran for 25 years. How will they pay? Well, they're probably going to pay with gold. That's how they'll do it, because Iran is basically blocked from the dollar market, or they'll pay with they'll trade their own currencies. They'll do bilateral trade, and they'll settle in yuan or the I'm not sure what the currency there is called in Iran, the dinar or something. I'm not sure. They could do that. I'm sure Iran would accept Chinese yuan for their oil, and and then with the yuan they could buy things from other countries. Other countries, China is becoming such an important country economically, and has been for a decade or more, that yeah, the yuan will be more and more accepted. It's not good for the dollar, and this policy of using the dollar as a political weapon against countries like Iran and other countries is going to backfire on the US dollar, I think. HZJ79, thank you for your super chat. Good day from down under. This is for Billy shampoo and the trim. Yeah, Billy gets he gets there's a mobile groomer, comes every 8 weeks. Yeah, it's not cheap, but yeah, I think in another month Billy will have a groom. Thank you for that. Yeah, Adon IJ Spirit. I've interviewed Peter Schiff a couple of times. Maybe I'll get him on again. Peter Schiff. I've interviewed as well Ron Paul, Mark Faber, even what's his name, Jim Rickards. One guy that I liked interviewing was Dan Oliver. He's a really interesting analyst, but with the pandemic last year, he was living in New York City, and he left the city. And yeah, I haven't been able to get a hold of him. I emailed him, but he hasn't come back. Dan Oliver. Hugh Mann, I just ordered Libertad's 2017s, 2020s, all for under 50 from private sellers. Yeah, I think it's going to become more and more a private market. Yeah, Lynette has been doing great interviews. I think she did an interview with Stansbury Research, and my wife liked that. I think she watched that. I think they got like 120,000 views. Lily Robin, Jake, yeah, Jake from I Love Prosperity is great. Yeah, he's a good young guy as well, Jake. Aztec Gold, how do you feel about the EU rolling out digital euro? Do you think it's linked to England's war on Bitcoin? Nah, I don't really think it makes much difference because most central bank currency these days is digital anyways. From what I heard from the Bundesbank president, they don't want to do away with cash. So I don't think it's got anything to do with really Bitcoin. Hugh Albrook's, do you agree that a rising dollar index puts pressure on the price of silver? Actually, no, I don't. Maybe in the short term, because if you look at the dollar index, it bottomed in March of 2008 at 70.69. And that at that time, I think gold topped at 1,000, silver topped at like 26, and then they all dropped further, gold and silver. But since then, the dollar index has gone as high as 103, and silver actually made a new high in 2011 at 50, and silver is now at 26, 27, or even 30. Gold has gone from 1,000 to 2000 while the dollar index has been rising. So no, I don't think it has. I think gold and silver will go up in all currencies, and they could even go up when the dollar index goes up. And the dollar index is mostly really 2/3 really the euro. So the correlation isn't that perfect. The inverse correlation, I would say. Beverly Smith, would U.S. government or Powell admit to the presence of hyperinflation? It doesn't really matter if they admit it. People will know when there is hyperinflation. And one thing that is concerning, and I forgot to talk about this one here. I'll bring it up. We'll go on a little longer today. I usually stay for an hour, but let's share this. Because one thing that from learning and reading about history, monetary history, hyperinflations, like in France in the 1790s, Germany, Zimbabwe, is that it always starts with the food prices, because that really freaks out the public, higher food prices. So we got this, and this is from Rabobank, which was one of the major too big to fail banks from Holland, on the verge of a global crisis. One bank warns of a biblical surge in food prices. So yeah, I think this could be quite important to like what the Fed calls inflation expectations, and they always try to say that they're trying to not doctor, but they're trying to affect inflation expectations. But that's basically lying and manipulating to the public and tinkering with their CPIs and saying that there is no inflation. You notice that now they're not going to publish M1 and M2 every week, and that they're going to only publish it a monthly, and they're going to smooth it, because too many people like me and others were starting to keep an eye on it. And that's how they manage inflation expectations, by basically lying to people about inflation. So yeah, they will probably, they'll be like a Baghdad Bob. I think in the UK they call him Comical Ali, when the US invaded Iraq in 2003. And you could see the American tanks behind this Iraqi government press guy. He was a general, and he said, "Oh no, the Americans are going to they're not going to come here. We're going to beat them." And the American tanks are right behind him. So that's how they're going to look. If they say there's no hyperinflation, people are not going to really buy into it. Yeah, shrinkflation is just rising prices as well, because they cut the packages in half, but they keep the same price. And I've heard of shrinkflation now. What's happening? They're keeping the package the same size, but they're putting a lot less in the package, so it looks like it hasn't shrunk, but there's less stuff in it. And I've noticed that. I bought a bag of chips or crisps a few weeks ago, and it was mostly air. There's not too many potato chips in it. Yeah, David Veach topped the car up before petrol rises sharply. Yeah, that could be another impact as well. And oil prices could go higher, and they'll blame oil for inflation like they did in the 70s, even though uh, I I was thinking about this today. They've been inflating the system massively since Nixon closed the gold window. And why is that? Well, because without the anchor of gold, the central banks and government can create debt and money, fiat currency, as much as they want. But with the discipline of sound money, they can't. So we've had massive inflation, and they're going to blame everything, everyone, every event except themselves for it. but don't fall for it. You know who the culprits are. Only government and their central banks can create inflation, not oil. Fidel Trudeau. Yeah, there is a rumor that Justin Trudeau is Fidel Castro's son. I'm not too sure about that. Lord Humongous, I think so too. The floor in silver is $50. John DiLiberto, yeah, that's the original weight of a silver dollar, but I think it was changed in 1837. It was lowered a little bit. That was the original weight from the Coinage Act of 1792, 371.25 fine grains of silver. That was $1. They also had a weight for the gold dollar, even though dollar really is a silver coin, really, the Spanish mill dollar, right? Yeah, don't pay attention to Crimex spot manipulation. That's right. Um, yeah, the problem with Comex is that a lot of the speculators and like funds and people like that, uh, you know, they see gold more as a trading instrument, the gold future. So they hardly care about taking delivery, but I think that's changing. And I think a lot of the, the so-called family offices, the wealthy, uh, family, they're kind of like banks, right? Running people's big money. They're starting to demand physical delivery. Yeah, the Thaler, that's the original, yeah, Joachim's Thaler. And a lot of the coins that, from the 19th century, there's a lot of coins that are the same size as the silver dollar and the Thaler, the Spanish mill dollar. So yeah, it's all really interesting. William Parker, Silver Eagles 3550 here with spot at 25. Yeah, it's amazing. It's really upside down. I don't think they can keep the manipulation forever. The market always wins in the end. Some people might not believe that, but it will. Uh, why do they bother to price silver coins? The 1 ounce Philharmonic is €1 50. They'll never be sold for that. Yeah, because they don't want it to circulate. It's just a silly face value thing they put on it. The gold eagle in the U.S. They've put a $50 a face value on it, but it's worth 2,000 to buy it. It's to keep for people from using it you know to um, to pay for things. But one thing that's good though, if you're in Austria and you have silver philharmonics, and it's worth, let's say, the silver goes to €1,000 an ounce in the free market, but you've got that coin and it says €1 50. And if the taxman comes after you in Austria, you can tell him, no, this is only €1 50. And they can't do anything about it because legally it's €1 50, right? So it's a good way for, you should look into that because it's a good way to get away with the tax. SK, thank you for your super chat. How is Bitcoin any different than fiat currency? Well, I've been looking at Bitcoin for many years, and from what I know is that they say it's different because there's a limit of 21 million Bitcoins, and it gets harder and harder to mine the Bitcoin. Mining Bitcoin was fairly easy in the beginning. You had to basically solve a mathematical problem. But they have something called halving. Every 4 years or so becomes harder and harder to mine Bitcoin. So they say that it takes effort while fiat currency doesn't. That's their argument. Edward McLaughlin, we in America are allowed to travel with 10,000 in face value money. Yeah, so Edward, you could take you know pre 1933 $20 gold coin, which is just under an ounce, and you could take $10,000 worth of face value, and it would be worth a lot more than Federal Reserve note. And if you were stopped, you could say, no, this is $10,000. So there you go. That's why that helps. People don't realize that, but they can use that. JumpTube thinks the 21 million can be increased, the Bitcoin. Well, they could, but I guess that would be a fork, right? Or, if enough of the people, I don't know if they can change that. I haven't looked into that. I'll take a few more questions and we'll call it a day. We've been here for an hour and 20 minutes. And I got to get up early tomorrow because I'm going to do my video a bit earlier because I'm playing golf tomorrow at 10 o'clock. And I'm looking forward to that because the golf courses have been closed for 3 months here. Not joking. Yeah, I've traveled a lot with gold coins, especially sovereigns, because you put them together with your normal coins and you put them in the box going through security, and they have no clue that it's gold. So yeah, it's very easy to travel with sovereigns. They look like copper coins, and they're actually gold coins. So you can do that. Just a couple more questions then. Let's see. Bitcoin is just math. That's right. Can you still leave England? Yeah, I mean, the problem is, yeah, I can. There's a lot of controls right now, and I'm not sure. If you go to another country, you have to quarantine. But yeah, I'm not looking to travel outside of the UK right now. There's too much going on. Hopefully, we'll get back to normal. But when I went to Florence in October 2019, I took a few sovereigns in my pocket, had no problem going through customs. So there you go. But I would recommend, even for Americans or anyone, the sovereigns, because they're really small and they're not very conspicuous. I wouldn't recommend let's say the 999 gold coins like the Buffalo or the very flashy coins. Just take a little sovereign. It's just less than a quarter of an ounce. What's the weather going to be like here? Well, tomorrow is supposed to be get to a high of 18 degrees Celsius, which is probably around mid 60s Fahrenheit. So it's going to be a nice day. And Tuesday is supposed to get up to like 72. So it's quite nice. Okay. That's it. We're going to call it a night, a day, or a morning, wherever you are. Thank you, everyone, for showing up. Thank you for, yeah, all the questions, all the super chats, just for being here. And I'll talk to you tomorrow. Take care.